All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I will reconvene the special meeting at 5:35. I will start with our land acknowledgement. So, as visitors on this land, the town of Bradford, Gwillimbury acknowledges that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, which includes Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as Three Fires Confederacy. We recognize that the Huron-Wendat, Chippewa, and Haudenosaunee nations have walked on this territory over time. In times of great change, we recognize more than ever the importance of honoring Indigenous history and culture and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation, respect, and good health with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. So there's no motions arising out of closed. So we'll jump right into the adoption of the agenda. Recommendation that the Special Council agenda dated July 2nd, 2020 be adopted as printed. Moved by Councillor Ferragini, seconded by Councillor Dykey. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest, general nature. If you have that, you can declare it now. Seeing none. We're on to 7. We have no presentations. 8, no deputations. We're right into staff reports, section 9. So 9.1. Authority to sign the Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement with the Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Parks, the DCAO 2025-6. So read recommendation, gentlemen, and then we'll move in a second to put it on the floor. Recommendation that council receive the report DCAO 2025-06 and the council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement for the Lake Simcoe Phosphorus Reduction Project Phase 1 with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and the council approve the hire of a senior project manager as detailed in this report. And the council endorsed the forming of a Bradford Gwillimbury Project Advisory Group comprising town staff and up to 2 representatives from the Holland Marsh Growers Association. So I'll move in a second, please.
I'll move it.
Seconded by Councillor Scott. Questions or concerns with this? Councillor Giordano.
So, a couple things. Number one, try to ask all my questions up front and then have them each one addressed. Okay. So, question number one is, what's the urgency of calling a special council meeting for this in particular right now? Question number two, can this position, or actually I believe that this position should be a contract position. Therefore, if the funding doesn't continue, we're not on the hook for a large salaried employee. Number three, what kind of guarantees are we going to get, if any, that this will be covered? Number four, how much is it going to cost in addition, if any costs, for us to operate this facility?
Okay, you know what, Councillor Dykey, can you turn your mic off, please? I think it's yours.
No, it's not mine.
Okay, whoever it was, I didn't hear. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we had 4 questions. Let me answer the first one, why we called a special meeting. It was because we couldn't get it in our June 24th meeting, and we needed to get this transfer payment agreement signed sooner rather than later. The province would like to make the announcement of this great project that we're doing, the phosphorus reduction project, to help save Lake Simcoe. So that's why we had to call this meeting now, and I thank council for making their time to be here tonight. I appreciate that very much. We worked hard with the ministry to try and get this agreement done prior to our June 24th meeting. It was just not able to do it at that time, so we had to do this meeting now. So I apologize to everybody, but this has to get done so we can get the transfer payment agreement signed and move this project forward. The other questions, I'm sorry, there was 4 other questions. So who are Deputy CAO, can you provide answers to the other questions that Councillor Giordano asked?
Thank you, Mayor. And Councillor Giordano, if I miss any point, please remind me so I can cover them. I'll give you a little preface first. This particular transfer payment agreement that is before us covers the design, the engineering, planning, and the land acquisition for the phosphorus reduction plant, which will go the Lake Simcoe phosphorus reduction plant. The duration is 2 years. So this particular phase of the project is 24 months. There will be other phases coming later that will cover the construction of the plant and the wetlands, if that's the direction we're going, and also the operation of the plant. Through discussions in which I don't what we've talked about is the operation of this plant will not, and the cost of the operation of the plant will not be to Bradford's taxpayers. There will be an agreement that will cover that, and we will have that say as council and ourselves in terms of what that agreement says. We as staff negotiating it and then bringing it forward to council. So that agreement will be there in terms of the operating costs. To go to your particular questions, the the project manager that we do have, our intention is for it to be a contracted position, not a full-time. This particular agreement that we've got covers that position for 24 months. We expect that before that 24 months is over, we will have subsequent agreements for the construction, and if there are other phases thereafter. So it is covered in terms of the senior project manager, fully covered. The operator, I spoke to that in terms of the future agreement that is coming, still to be negotiated. But there is a commitment, at least a verbal commitment from the ministry, that it will be covered. It will not come to us. Having said that, because this particular agreement before you only covers the planning, design, engineering, and land acquisition, if we can't get the funding for the future, I don't see it going beyond that. The funding will come, and it will have to cover those. We will have a say in that. Okay. There's a fourth question. Sorry, could you remind me on the fourth question, please?
I think you combined two of my questions, if I recall.
Okay.
I do have so one other question then. Why are we asking, or can you explain why there's two people from the Holland Marsh Association like associated? Obviously, I think I know the answer, but why are we appointing two people? And then do we have anybody from the public that's on this, or is it all staff and committee-based members?
Through you, Mayor. Two persons from the Holland Marsh is one redundancy. It is something that will move once we start moving quite quickly, and there has to be some continuity. It is up to two persons. It could be one, it could be two. So there is some redundancy there. This pertains particularly to the Holland Marsh area. Public will have the opportunity of input that will come into us. They'll have that opportunity to provide input to the senior project manager in terms of what is happening throughout the process. That will happen through the engineering process as we go forward.
Great, thanks for all those. Just maybe you could clarify one point. So the building itself, once it's constructed, there's cost, there's power, there's service, maintenance, the roof goes on. You were saying that it doesn't affect the taxpayers. So how does that work in the future? Can you maybe just clarify for myself and the public?
Through Mayor Leduc to you, Councillor Giordano. The future agreement that we still to be negotiated is for the operation of this. It is our intention that the province, through whatever means they can come up with, will cover those costs that you just referred to. Those are the operating costs. That's to their, the discussions we've had is that it will be to their account. So those are things that we still need to complete the negotiation. We are not there, but that will be a future transfer payment agreement, future operating agreement that we will iron out and negotiate.
Yeah, this is the first phase of the whole system. So if this doesn't work, it doesn't go much further. Okay, Councillor Harper next, and then Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to have a couple questions, if you could. We talked a little bit about this, and it wasn't really gone into much detail, but when we're talking about acquisition of lands, and the ministry and the municipality here has approval of such lands, and then it needs to be near the Art Jans pumping station. Could you explain to me a little bit more about what a hybrid station would look like for us in regards to the surface area of land? And also the next question, projectedly, what's an operational cost annually to run a phosphorus plant?
Okay, back to Mahesh, and maybe you can have Frank jump in on that one too.
Yeah, Mayor, I will start, and then Frank, if please jump in if I misspeak on anything or you need to add as well. The hybrid plant. The hybrid facility will be, the options are a treatment plant that will physically treat the water coming out of the station to remove phosphorus. That's the first part of it. The hybrid portion of it is engineered, would be engineered wetlands that we would pass water through, and through the natural processes remove phosphorus as well. That's essentially what it is as a hybrid. There has to be an engineering study done. There were previous ones done 20 odd years ago, and updated 15 years ago. We will revisit those to confirm that the parameters and the recommendations from those reports still hold firm today, and then to advise going forward. With that recommendation is when we will know, for one, in terms of location, in terms of the areas that we do require. We don't have that data as yet. It will also inform the likely operating costs. So you've asked a question about that. This TPA that's before you right now is for us to go into the planning, go into the engineering, go into those aspects in the design that will give us the kind of answers you're looking for. So maybe after that report, I'll be able to give you firm answers to those. But that's the process.
Frank, anything you'd like to add?
No, through you, Chair. No, Mash has covered that well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harper, did that answer your questions?
It did. I'd just like to follow up if I may, Mayor.
Yep.
If after this process, we come back with those numbers, Deputy CAO, and we know the surface area, we know the costs annually and stuff, are we then able to actually act responsibly in regards to leadership for the taxpayers? Because I understand environmental stewardship. We would be environmental leaders in regards to this. But we have to make sure that it matches responsible governments and accountability, right? My angle from this is basically protecting taxpayers from future costs for creeping in. And I heard what you said about making sure that the contract would reflect certain costs, but the promise could only come back and essentially give us so much a year. In my projections for this, it looks like we need some kind of medium density, and I did some work some looking into, like, what does a Dufferin Creek phosphorus plant look like, and the Toronto phosphorus plant. And even though these plants are quite large, ours is and for the scale, based on the information that you provided, is quite average in means and for the size that we're trying to protect. But one thing that was harnessing me in regards to this decision is that we're reducing algal blooms, improving recreational use and fisheries. I have to question, though, and this is what I would bring back, is that Bradford already has a lot of urgent needs as well. And the cost per annually, if we're on the hook for that, I'd have to weigh it against Bradford's infrastructure needs. Like, we have roads that needs paving still. The tangible and immediate benefits to residents will have to become a factor at some point in this process. I'm okay getting this information forward today, but know that these concerns will be raised later.
All right, thank you for those. On to Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So let me just start by saying, when our town, along with the town of Georgina, was advocating for provincial funding to join the federal funding to deliver this project, we were clear that we could not have municipalities be on the hook for the operational costs. The province agreed to that upwards of 3 years ago. When this council signed a memorandum of understanding in February, that was explicitly stated. So it is worth repeating and emphasizing. This council, this town will not be on the hook for operational costs, full stop. The province, I believe the word they even used was indemnify. So any concerns about that hopefully are now asked and answered, because that was covered in the MOU we signed back in February. What we're dealing with tonight is the transfer payment agreement related to, as the deputy CIO has said, the planning, engineering, and site selection and acquisition. That's an exciting phase of the project. We've seen past studies by the LSRCA and others over 2 decades ago. We have a general sense of where this would go along the Holland River, whether near the pumping station or further north towards our sewage treatment plant. I'm excited to see what the engineers and other experts come up with. The 3 ministers of the environment ago committed to the Hallmarsh Growers Association that they would be represented in this process, and we're making good on that commitment in the steering committee, the up to 2 seats. And I think that's a key piece of this, because the farmers had done so much to reduce phosphorus runoff from the marsh, the polder area, and this is about ensuring that we clean the flow into the river and up into Lake Simcoe. A lot of that flow is from urban runoff. Councillor Harper spoke about paving roads. The more hard surfaces we have in town, the more runoff we get into our watershed, where we get our drinking water, where we get, yes, our recreation, our fishing, and the natural environment so many of our residents care about. So I think this is a very key piece of the puzzle for sustainable development in our region, and it is on the capital side fully paid for by the federal and provincial governments, and on the operations side we have that assurance in a signed contract from the province. So I'm thrilled to approve this. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day. We keep going through various steps of the process, and we have to remember back to what we did 6 months or 3 years ago. But I think this is being done very well, and it'll get us to the next step as we work to help deliver the largest reduction in phosphorus pollution in Lake Simcoe's history.
Yes, thank you very much. Well said. Deputy Mayor Sandhu.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to first thank Mahesh for bringing this work forward. I'm happy that this is moving forward. It's been long overdue. I was just going to add what Councillor Scott mentioned about operating costs being covered by on the backs of taxpayers. Originally, province agreed and committed that this won't be the case, and that was the only reason that I voted to move this forward. And when that time comes, when we review that agreement, if that's not in there, I have no problem switching my vote of moving this forward, because I expect them to keep their word on it. But right now, I think this is a good project, and it's going to help the health of Lake Simcoe, and it's going to help us as a municipality. And I want to thank our Deputy CAO for answering my questions in advance. I just wanted to share this comment. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Kike.
Yeah, I agree. The MOU specifically stated that operating costs would be covered by the province and not to municipalities. Just a question. There's $9.5 million for land acquisition. Why is that in this phase when you'd want to have it designed and get approved before the land acquisition, or what's the timing on that?
Mahesh, you want to answer that?
Sure. Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Verkijk. Land acquisition will only happen after we've gone through the engineering and we've identified what the project looks like, what it looks like in terms of a treatment plant and or the wetlands. Only then can we get into land acquisition in terms of all the other aspects, what it is, the areas we need, where it is, costs, those sort of things. So I won't be able to give you that information today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad that my colleagues there raised the efforts there publicly about the MOU in regards to not being on the hook for the operational costs. Did the MOU, if we can get an understanding here, cover liability and compliance risks in regards to environmental regulations that we would have to actually pay for or be paid for yearly? these environmental regulations run a cost around 50,000 onward for something like a phosphorus plant. So will that MOU cover these costs as well?
Deputy CAO?
The aspects that Councillor is speaking about would pertain to the operations side in terms of the future transfer payment agreement and that agreement. The MOU did not speak to any potential in terms of adherence to certain effluent criteria. Having said that, what we are taking is we're taking waters that will be discharged, that normally are discharged directly to the lake, and improving it. That's what we're doing in this process. It is not taking wastewater as a regular sewage plant would do and discharging that and treating that. This is taking waters that normally go to the lake untreated, treating it and improving it, and then putting it back in. That's what this is doing.
Right.
If I may, though, if we're taking that water and treating it, then that liability falls on the town then, because now we'll be under heavily environmental regulations to make sure that that water is at certain regulations, correct?
Councillor, through Mayor Leduc, unless we fail miserably, it will be better quality than what's going in. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could, in the follow-up though, see if there's a cost for environmental regulations costs that we can get to us as well.
Your
Thank
worship, if I may quickly,
Yeah.
just to bring this across, I think a direct answer. Councillor Harper's presupposing that we're going to be the operator. We're not going to be the operator.
Right. It's Aqua that's going to be the operator, so we won't be liable for anything. So this is phase one to see if it's a viable operation. Let's put it that way. This is phase one. We need to get through phase one, and a lot of these questions will be answered as we move forward. And council will be brought up to date on everything we do. When we're going through this process, we will bring council up to date on everything, bring up to speed on what's going on throughout the whole process. So this is just phase one of a system that we're excited about. It's about improving Lake Simcoe, and I really want to emphasize that it's about improving Lake Simcoe. So that's what it's one of the first. It's the first project. So. Okay, any further questions? Councillor Ferragini.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat everything that everybody's already said, but I'm just excited about this. It is the first phase, and we are looking at the funding is coming forward to make sure that this thing is feasible. Anything that we can do to help clean, say, Lake Simcoe up, I'm all for it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes back from the results with this first phase.
Yes, thank you. And so am I. I'm excited about this project. Okay, further comments or questions from council? So I'd like to call for the vote then. All in favor of the recommendation as written? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? Okay, so I've got 2 opposed. They didn't, it's a no, so I had 1, 2. Can I ask in favor again? I got to see the hands. Sorry, it's on video. So, okay, there's 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. Thank you. It carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that. Great discussions, great comments. I'm going to move on to 11 to confirm proceedings. Recommendation that bylaw 2025-80, a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the council meeting dated July 2nd, 25 be enacted. Moved by Councillor Ferragini and seconded by Councillor Dykey. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we'll go to adjournment. Recommendation the meeting hereby adjourn at 5:59. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Councillor Harper. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on July 2nd. Appreciate that. Hopefully, we don't have to call any more meetings unless we're going to get transfer payments. All right. Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Take care. Bye.